Okay, how about now? Can you hear me now, Drew? Bruce? So, new studio. Hope you can hear me. Now it says you should be able to hear me. Before it wasn't, so I appreciate you telling me that. Hey, good deal. So, if this works, I actually pay for this software too, and we'll just switch to this from StreamYard and I will get used to it. So, cool. Glad y'all can hear me and you actually see me moving around now. So I just wanted to, oh, hi, I'm Mick. I actually know who that is. She is near to me. So I had last night somebody that y'all know who was disagreeing with me about whether or not Crimean Tatars supported the reunification of Crimea with Russia. And y'all know me, I prefer to deal in facts than opinions. And what we had last night was opinions, even mine, even though it's what I saw, what people tell me. I decided to give you some opinions. So, first, yes, there were many Crimean Tatars who did not vote for reunification with Russia. And we'll talk a little bit about that and then move on to the actual hard data percentages in support of Russia from 2014 to today. There were then and there are now dissatisfied people. These are mainly those whose relatives left for Ukraine but cannot return because they participated in terrorist attacks, not very peaceful protests, or from what a lot of my friends that are Tatars tell me, many who profess an interpretation of the Muslim religion that is prohibited in the Russian Federation. And I'm not going to get into that, but this particular offshoot of the Muslim religion preaches the creation of a world caliphate. And the admirers of the world caliphate are, they've been banned in Russia, and, they're considered fanatics in the Russian Federation. So they're clearly not supporters of Russia and Russians. However, a lot of that comes from, calls of boycotts of the elections by Rifat Chubarov, the leader of the Majlis of the Crimean Tatar people, which actually is not the leader of the Crimean Tatar people. He is a member of the Ukrainian Duma, and he has been banned from Crimea, as well as the former leader of the Crimean Tatars, Mustafa Zhemilev. He was and is a human rights activist, a Soviet dissident, a member of the Ukrainian parliament, and former chairman of the Majlis of the Crimean Tatars, and he also has been banned from entering Crimea. These two men have made claims that officers of the FSB raided Tatar homes during the week of the elections, and on the pretense of suspicion of terrorist activity. But, we also have proof in 2014 of Putin meeting with the Crimean Tatars on May 16th, 2014 in Crimea. So the Majlis of the Crimean Tatar people was labeled an extremist organization and subsequently banned by Crimea's Supreme Court on April 26, 2016. They also claim that the new Russian authorities of Crimea issued a ban on the annual commemorations of the anniversary of the deportation of the Crimean Tatars. However, as I talked about last night, it is actually celebrated here annually. And they had, what more can I say about that? They also said that the Tatars made up 54% of the population, or 36% of the population, and 54% were Russians, and the rest various, other people here. So therefore it was impossible to have such election results. But what people need to understand is the Crimean Tatars have begun to separate the Russian Federation and the Soviet Union from each other. There is still some resentment for the deportation, and some fear remains, but the majority of Crimean Tatars understand that the Russian Federation and the Soviet Union are two different countries, and there's no point in being afraid or offended by modern Russian Federation. So I am going to scan Wahhabism. Don't know what you mean, Drew. So the facts. Between December 12th and 25th of 2014, shortly after the vote to reunify Crimea with Russia, the Levada Center, which is a Western-backed NGO that does such studies, they carried out a survey in Crimea that was commissioned by the University of Colorado in Boulder and Virginia Tech National Capital Region Campus, so Virginia Tech. The results of that survey were published by Open Democracy in March of 2015, and they reported that overall 84% of Crimeans felt the choice to secede from Ukraine and accede to Russia was the absolute right decision. And the next largest segment of respondents said the decision to Russia was generally the right decision. This survey also reported that a majority of Crimean Tatars viewed Crimea's return to Russia as either absolutely right decision or the generally right decision. Now, they reported the percentage of absolutely right decision Crimean Tatars was 38% of the population. Not a big one, but a lot of people did not vote. So, in February of 2015, another research center carried out a door-to-door survey asking people how they would vote if the same referendum was held in February of 2015. The survey showed that 97% of ethnic Russians, 91% of ethnic Ukrainians, 49% of ethnic Tatars, and 92% of all the other ethnic groups in Crimea would vote to rejoin Russia. Well, 1% of Russians, 4% of Ukrainians, and 26% of ethnic Tatars, 2% of other groups would vote to remain an autonomous region of Ukraine. So you can see already within a year, the percentages have actually grown. Now, in November 2017, a German poll group published the results of a survey that reported 85.3% of Crimeans, excluding Tatars, and 61.8% of Tatars, not including the other demographics, thought that Crimeans would either vote the same or that the majority would vote the same as they did in 2014 if the same referendum were held in November of 2017. So the German study also reported that among the Crimean population, apart from the Tatars, when asked what the reason was Crimea became a part of Russia in 2014, 33% of respondents said that Crimea became part of Russia as a result of Kiev's neglect of the region over many years. 25% said it happened because of the mobilization of the Crimean population, and 24% said it happened as a result of Euromaidan. When the same question was asked of Crimean Tatars, excluding all other demographics in Crimea, 36% of respondents said Crimea became part of Russia as a result of Euromaidan, 33% because of Kiev's neglect over the region. And so, there you have that. In 2019, 5 years later, March of 2019, a research center published the results of another survey. It said 89% of respondents said they would vote for reunification with Russia if a referendum was held that week. The same survey reported 93% of Crimeans viewed the reunification with a positive light. Now, Tatars. It said that 72% said that reunification with Russia had a positive effect on their lives and their families. And 59% of the Tatars responded they had noticed positive changes in the peninsula in the last year. So in December of 2019, Levada, again commissioned by the University of Colorado Boulder and Virginia Tech, carried out another survey. And they repeated the same questions they did in 2014. The survey found that 82% of Crimea's population supported the accession with Russia, as opposed to 86% in 2014. So a little bit less. They also found that 19% more Crimean Tatars now supported Crimea's accession to Russia as opposed to in 2014. So I'll just finish this off before I gander through the comments here, that today current surveys say that a majority of Crimean Tatars support Russian, and they have more precisely stated that they have comfortable conditions that have been created for the Tatars to live and do business by the Russian Federation, and they are satisfied with their lives here. So it's kind of like I said last night, a good many Tatars voted in the 2014 referendum, and they have great support here. I have had pro-Ukrainians come to me here that have asked if my wife and I were afraid that when Ukraine came back and liberated Crimea, that the Tatars were going to slit our throats because they don't like Americans, they don't like pro-Russian people. I can tell you without a doubt that that is not the case. Some of my best friends are Tatars, and the number of business people here, every successful car dealership in Crimea, and we've visited them all when we have looked at the car we own and looking at new cars, they're all owned by Tatars. They're probably the biggest number of business people in Crimea at this point. A lot of Russians own businesses. I will say this, the Tatars have business sense, and they know what running a business takes. They understand dealing with customers, being friendly, negotiating with them. And I hate to say this, but a majority of Russians have no business sense at all, at least the ones here in Crimea. They tend to go out of business very quickly. So, Arm Dube, the Western propaganda machine. I think I can actually put these on screen. Yeah, hey, look at that. The Western propaganda machine was saying all Crimean Tatars were oppressed. Yes, this was based on these guys that were thrown out of Crimea for running these violent protests and, being proponents of this extremist Muslim group of people, which most Crimean Tatars are not part of at this point. There are some, yes. So, but yes, it's only Western propaganda outlets. Those of us who live here know differently. So, chook. Dave is Canadian and he would vote for reunification. I know many Canadians who would vote for that. So, Bruce has a question. Are the Crimean Tatars politically aligned with the Tatars of the Republic of Tatarstan, or do they consider themselves a unique diaspora? They actually consider themselves a unique diaspora. However, that said, many of the Tatars in Tatarstan are from Crimea. So there are family ties, and understand that the Tatars from Tatarstan are actually pro-Russian. They're part of the Russian Federation. So some of them want to come back. They don't come back for whatever reason. And, they have tight family ties. So you've got some Tatars from Tatarstan. I've seen a lot of Tatars on places like TikTok and X talking about how, they are a separate people and they were evicted from Crimea. Crimean Tatars are, largely in their thought process and their politics aligned with Russia at this point because of the things Russia has done for them. Like I say, it's really them coming to the realization that the Russian Federation is not the Soviet Union. So there is some resentment towards the Soviet Union for what was done to them, both in Tatarstan and Crimea. But, those sentiments are changing. So that said, that's all I actually had to say in all of this. You're welcome, Bruce. If anyone else has some questions, I'll give you a moment to throw them up in the chat there. Just to check with you all, if you could hear me fine, if you actually see me moving, and if so, I will practice some more with this software, and maybe we'll move over to this one from our prior streaming service. So feel free to leave questions in the comments below. I did get some questions after last night's streams, and I thank you for them, and I will actually respond to them. I actually have a list of questions that I'm asked in comments. Percentage of Tatars in Crimea is roughly 12% of the population. I only know that because I looked it up earlier. So, that's what the official statistics say from Western sources. I don't know what Russian sources say. Let's see, percent of Tatars in Crimea. So the Russians sources, Western sources say, well, actually, I'm looking at one Western source here that says less than 1% of the population, and I know that's wrong. I see another Western source that says 12.2%. So, I've seen upwards of 38%, but, okay, here you go. According to Russia, there's about 250,000 Tatars in Crimea. That's out of, 1.5 million people. So I'll let you do the math. Okay. Do I think the Russian government could legalize use of cryptocurrencies to help people to transfer wealth in and out of the economy? it's not illegal. It's taxed a little bit differently. ARM, they view cryptocurrency as property, therefore you will pay property taxes on it. There is talk to legalize it. There are some legal exchanges on the streets in cities like Moscow and St. Petersburg where you can bring it with you and you can exchange it. But I repeat this constantly. People disagree with me on it. I did a study of this with a friend of mine who is a crypto broker in Canada. Your cost to transfer cryptocurrency here runs about 10 to 12% of what you're exchanging. That's by the time you've bought the crypto, assuming you bought something that does not change in value like USDT. Bitcoin is anybody's guess because it can, go up and down quite quickly. But assuming that you bought something that's stable, you bring it over, the cost that you pay to buy it, the exchange rates, and selling it here, it's going to cost you 10 to 12%. I recommend Swift. It's what I use, and I'll only charge you 2%. So, that's doable as well. So, yes, Dave, Dave, the West always gives good information. We can trust them 100%. Now, I'm going to say this because I had this discussion with my wife this morning. Russian propaganda is from the 1980s of the US. They actually tend to be relatively truthful, but they hide things as well. So we had some attack missile strikes a few nights ago, and a couple of them did cause damage at an airbase. I don't know if they were shot down and the remnants of the shells caused damage or if they had strikes. Western media said that the airbase was struck by all the missiles. It was devastated. Hundreds of planes were destroyed. Their claims actually are not supported by the number of planes that are in an airbase at any given point. So that was clearly false. Russia did not say anything was struck, but their form of propaganda is to say no civilian infrastructure was damaged. So we know that when they say that, it means likely something was damaged. It just wasn't civilian architecture. Drew, so the Tatars are descendants of Tatarstan. Yes and no. Like I say, keep in mind that a lot of the Tatars were exported to Tatarstan. So you have Tatarstan Tatars, you have Crimean Tatars. It's a mix, and maybe I'll do a show on that one day. Yeah, actually, you probably heard that they are cracking down on crypto because we used to finance that terror attack in Moscow. You probably heard that from me, maybe others as well. And yeah, they've been closing down online crypto exchanges. So like I say, there are a couple of legal ones on the streets. They're basically the same as money changers. You come here with US dollars, you take them to a place like this, they exchange it for rubles, you pay a high price for it. The online exchanges, excuse me, 2 of the 3 that I normally deal with have actually stopped doing conversions to rubles. And the one that I have that will gives one of the better rates, and they're about 10 rubles per dollar less than the going exchange rate. Many of the other ones that are doing it run 15 to 20 rubles per dollar less. So the exchange rate today is 94%, 94 to the dollar. You're getting, 65 to 70 to the dollar instead. So And I can tell you that even though people say that they cannot track crypto sources, who sent it, who received it, that is not true. That was my business, and I did consultations on this. So they can track the cryptocurrency. So don't, if you bring it here, take it to an exchange place, exchange it, but don't think that they can't track where you bought it or, who you are when you exchanged it. So any other questions? Let it loose. West always gives good info. Were they descendants of the Ottomans? You guys are getting beyond my lack of in-depth knowledge of such things, and I would have to do research on it. Dave, if you find me a Russian woman, you'll give me 2% of the woman. Yeah, I don't know. I think my wife would have something to say about that 2%. And, she is watching this stream. So I am not going to agree with that. I know exactly what she would have to say, and I will keep that between us. So you come here, if you're a decent guy and you're living in our area, you have an income, and you're willing to support a woman and her child, you aren't looking for a 20-year-old, you're looking for somebody your age, we can probably introduce you to some people. So, and we won't even charge you for that. We will just charge you to help you immigrate. So, yeah. No 2%, Dave. Sorry, I won't take you on that. I wouldn't take you up on 10% or 1% on that deal. But like I say, contact me, on Telegram. I don't have the banners in this software, I don't believe. Actually, I do. Contact me on Telegram, and if you actually want to move to Russia, we can help you come to Crimea. Rules in Crimea are different than other territories. Krasnodar is another area that the rules are a little different. You want to go to Moscow, that region, contact Timur Beslangura. He is, one of the best attorneys on immigration. So that said, I will let you all go. Half-hour stream, perfect. Thank you all for coming. Again, you got questions and things. Bruce, thank you. I appreciate sentiment. Yes, because of my business, I believe in facts. So that's why I won't get into the whole Tatarstan thing other than my off-the-cuff opinion and knowledge about things. That's my job, is to do the research. So I thank you all for coming. Have a good Sunday. I know it's early in the morning for many of you in the US, and it's relatively early in the afternoon here. So talk to you all later. Have a good one. And I think somewhere along the lines, I can actually do an outro here. Nope, I can't. So I'll figure it out one of these days. I appreciate your patience as I'm learning the new software. Talk to you all later.